What's up, Dreamedia family? This is Zach. Welcome back to another episode. Today, we're out here in Nashville, Tennessee, doing a home theater install for you guys. We're gonna cover all the intricate details of this beautiful home theater that I'm standing in now from start to finish. But today, we're doing a video installing the 11-channel Focal 1000 series in-wall and in-ceiling speakers. These are some of our absolute best-selling speakers, period. So I wanted to bring on our National Sales Director, Kellen Fleener, to give a little inspiration, have him share his thoughts about why he has these speakers in his own home and why he loves them so much and why we've installed them in so many homes all around the country. And then we're gonna get into the nitty gritty and put these puppies in for you guys. So without further ado, Kellen, come in here and give him the lowdown. Over to you.
Alrighty, thanks Zach. The customer first reached out to us. We were really looking for a way to maximize the audio quality. The overall performance is important to the customer, video and audio, but the overall experience is what really matters to us. We want to deliver you the very best experience for your budget. So with that in mind, we went with a Focal 1000 series speaker, and I felt confident giving him that recommendation because that's what I currently have used in my own home for many years. The sound is superb. Focal is a French company, very well-known speaker manufacturer, and everything is made over in France. But the Focal 1000 series, that is their flagship in-wall or architectural line. So that is what we're gonna be outfitting in this room today out here in Nashville, is going to be the Focal 1000 series in-wall and in-ceiling speakers. So I know Zach touched on it previously before, but for the front three speakers, your left, your right, and your center channel are going to be utilizing the Focal 1000 IW-LCR6. That's gonna have two 6.5-inch woofers out of their W cone construction that is featured in their Sopra line and their box speakers or loudspeakers as well. And it's also going to have their signature beryllium tweeter. So Focal uses some premium materials in their loudspeakers, but also in this 1000 series, they kind of bring that down into their architectural line. So the left, right, and center channel is gonna be the IW-LCR6. It's going to be an MTM configuration to maximize dispersions. It's going to have a mid-woofer, tweeter, mid-woofer. And so we'll have two left, right, and then one down below the screen for the center channel. But one of the main reasons we chose to go with the LCRs up front is because they will really be able to, have a more fuller sound stage, meaning they will have still the same high frequencies audio, but they'll be able to go down much lower. So it's a more fuller range sound having those two or an additional woofer as opposed to what's going on the side surround. So that's why we chose to go with the IW-LCR and why we dropped down to the IW6 for the sides and the rear. So it's really not losing much overall performance. Again, optimally, there's nothing in the rule book that says you can't do this. You can use a LCR for all of your bed layer speakers. And again, that would be the most optimal performance-driven theater. And then up top here, we're gonna be utilizing, again, their architectural line, the Focal 1000 series. But one important thing to note with the IC-A6 is that the woofer and the tweeter are gonna be cohesively aligned to the listener. One of the main things that we wanted to do with Dolby ATMOS and why these speakers are such a great fit for Dolby ATMOS is because, again, the woofer and the tweeter are both angled inside the speaker baffle itself. And then you can install it and then aim that basically to where I'm standing now, which will be the main listening position for the room. The front row, that's about 11 feet away from a 120-inch screen. One thing that I did note installing these at my home myself is the bracket, and we will get into a lot of these tips and tricks, and that's one of the main purpose to get more in-depth videos while we're doing the installation. We have a bracket, that was installed incorrectly, which is fine. In this instance, we're gonna be covering that with the new acoustic panel, but we will touch on, how those should have been installed correctly. That way you viewers at home don't have to make that same mistake. If you're purchasing through Dreamedia, we can also FaceTime and make sure they were installed correctly. Get photos after the drywall is done to just confirm that. But we will go over that. One thing to note on the in-ceiling speakers when I was installing these at my house is the bracket themselves tell you where the speaker will ultimately end up after you do the quarter turn to lock it in. So you'll actually get the bracket lined up to the listening area first, and we'll show you some different ways to make sure that those are in line to the viewing area. We won't be using lasers, but we may use some strings, so you don't have to go out and buy a $500, $300 laser from your local hardware store. But we will be utilizing how to turn the bracket, get it aimed towards the listening position, and then once you actually install it and lock it in, how the tweeter and everything is aligned to the listening area.
Yeah, so we're itching to get cranking on this installation. I just wanted to go back to a few more basics for people who are just tuning in for the first time, building their very own home theater. We're doing an 11-channel system, and in particular, you can configure your 11-channel systems in a variety of different ways, whether that's like a 5.x, we'll just say X, because it depends on how many subwoofers you want in the space. .6, you can do a 5 bed layer, 6 Atmos is a very common one for one row of seating. That's actually what I'm running at my own home right now, 5.2.6. In the very near future, it's gonna be a 5.4.6, and I have it pre-wired for a 7.4.6. But in this room, we're gonna be running a 7.2.4, which is without a doubt our #1 best-selling Dolby Atmos configuration. So what that means is we have 7-channel bed layer, 4 Atmos, 2 subs, like Kellen had stated. I also wanted to talk about what Dolby Atmos does and why we used it so much. So with Dolby Atmos, guys, it's all about the separation in channel. When you hear a car screeching around the corner, you want that car screeching around the corner at ground level. You hear the helicopter coming in the scene. It's like, gets hit by a torpedo or something. Just
Torpedo?
What?
That's an ocean missile.
Oh, well, so you got the car screeching around the corner at ground level, and then you get a rocket launcher that blows up, say, a helicopter over here. You're gonna hear that rocket launcher, and then you'll hear the helicopter,
Take those sound effects out.
Well, you'll hear the helicopter, you know, making, so you'll hear that helicopter up here spinning off in the distance above you. The point is separation in channel. You're making it very realistic and very immersive. All right, guys, well, I just wanted to give that quick little run through for all the beginners out there who are just starting to build their own home theater. Anyways, guys, now we're getting to the fun part. Let's go ahead and open up our speakers and start installing. Let's go! Yeah.
Enough talking, let's get inside.
This is the Focal 1000. In particular, we're looking at the Focal 1000 IW6. These are fully enclosed in-wall speakers, so this is going to be comparable to like a bookshelf or a floor stander, especially the LCRs. So this is the 1000 IW6. We also would like to notate this nice, beautiful beryllium inverted dome tweeter. It also has a rotatable tweeter, so you can directionally point that audio towards your target seating area. In addition, we have plus and minus 3 dB adjustments right there. Looks like speaker terminals right here on the back. Nice quality push button.
This is the IWLCR. You're gonna have 2 of your bass drivers here, a little 4-inch mid-range, and then your beryllium tweeter. What's unique too about this tweeter is you can direct the higher frequencies, you know, a little bit left and right. So if you have a flat wall, what we're working with today, you can, you know, toe them in slightly to make the higher frequencies on axis. And what's really cool is, and we'll be utilizing it as well, is if you loosen up these 2 Allen wrench or Allen screws here, you'll be able to turn this to where your mid-range and your tweeter are going to be, you know, vertically aligned. If you're putting this behind acoustic fabric, You can go ahead and toggle the 3 dB switch for your mid-range and tweeter. And then you also have a 3 dB for your woofers as well. First thing on top is going to be accessories box here. So once you open it up, you're gonna have some of the boring stuff. You're gonna have a grill scrim. So if you want the metal grill over the speaker, you don't want to see through that metal grill. It comes with a stickable scrim cloth that you can stick to the back of the metal grill. If you're not going to use the grill, you can skip that step. Obviously, with all of their speakers comes the construction dust cover, so we'll be utilizing that as well. And then if we were retrofitting, the customer did get the focal brackets ahead of time, so it is going to make our job very seamless and very efficient. It's what we love to do. We like to pre-wire, get those brackets in, let the guys that do drywall cutting for a living do that for us. If you needed to make a new hole, you'll just utilize this template to make the correct size hole for the speaker. Comes with a circular grill and a square grill. So both grill options are included. The square one is in here. The circular one is painted navy to match the room.
One quick thing, guys, that I want to add in here. These speaker grills have been painted already. The process is very important. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times I've seen these grills clogged up, and I just feel so bad for the homeowner. When you're doing grills, there's a couple ways to do it. The easiest way for DIY customers is spray paint. Try to get a spray paint that's the same exact color. And
or you can have one custom made to match your swatch.
And that comes out just super thin. And if you hit it from a distance, you're pretty much golden. Like anybody can do it. So that's my #1 choice. #2, if you have painters in the house that are like painting the rest of the home and you don't want to go custom make a can, they can water down their paint and then spray from a distance. Just really light coats, guys. I mean, what I see is the grill's getting clogged. You don't want to roll it with a roller, you don't want to brush it, and you don't want to hit it with the standard paint without kind of cutting it and making it thinner and hitting it from a distance. I just wanted to add that in because it's really frustrating after you do your whole theater and you go for that last step to paint the grills and then they get clogged.
Even though they are replaceable.
Yeah, we can get you new ones.
Fun, just adds more time and labor.
One of those things where it's like,
take your time, do it right. It can easily be done, but it can easily be messed up. All right, continuing on here, we have the warranty documentation and a spec guide. You can also scan the QR codes, get additional information on the Focal series speaker itself or the Focal brand in general. But if you open that up, you are going to have a little install diagram here, step by step. Really easy to follow. Kind of a two-part install for this speaker. You do have a cradle that goes inside of the hole beforehand. Once it grabs, you'll kind of add some tension and then you'll actually pop this lock in. So you'll need to actually pull this up and push it down to lock it. So that there you can see it's kind of locked. But once it gets more tension on the drywall, you won't be able to move this.
Yeah, as you guys can see, there's like a little, it actually drops down into that clamp.
All right, guys, so this is the Focal 1000 series ICA6. This is an angled baffle speaker. The speaker woofer and tweeter are actually angled inside of the overall casing of the speaker. So it's not a complete just radiating, down firing speaker. The ICW6, the ICW8, those are both the 6.5 inch and 8 inch, just straight down firing in ceiling speakers. Those are good for overall coverage, distributed audio. These can be utilized for discrete channels for home theater, or if you need to direct sound a certain direction. So if it's up against a wall, if that's the only place you can put speakers, you need that music to be pushed more into the living area or wherever, you can utilize these, or the IWLCR to help direct that sound to a certain position. We are using these in a home theater configuration as a discrete channel for our ATMOS. So ATMOS is an atmospheric audio codec where it is adding height to your surround sound. Traditionally, surround sounds were going to be used with speakers that surround you in room close to ear level. So we are utilizing that still today. We're gonna have 7 speakers that are going to be as our bed layer speakers. And bed layer, I mean ground effects, things that are happening on a ground level, people running, cars, boats, anything that would in everyday life be happening on the ground. And then to add height effects, birds chirping, wind blowing around the room, helicopters, planes, overhead, comets, missiles, whatever, any overhead effect that the director or the sound engineer mixer is wanting to utilize to make your room more atmospheric, we're going to be using these. So what's awesome about these, again, they're angled. You have the woofer and the tweeter both directed to you, which really helps with time alignment and arrival. When these low frequencies from the mid-bass woofer and the tweeter are arriving to your ear at the same time, it becomes a more convincing experience to your ears that was a realistic representation of how that sound sounds in everyday life.
And this is a 2-piece design, guys. Whenever you go to flip it up, it actually puts pressure on the dog leg to where it pushes it down and locks like that. And then the speaker, if you look at the backside, see these little slits right here? Here, 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 all the way around, all 4 locations. These little hooks go and clip in there to where then once you lock it in, it has this lip. Speaker, obviously we're upside down, but is just gonna fall into place. And I'm trying to show this to you guys like out of the attic space so that you actually get an idea. We've had a lot of questions and concerns and installation problems with this speaker. So we wanted to make an in-depth video. Did you hear that? I'm sure you guys heard that snap. That means we are locked in. So now the speaker can't move. It can't go anywhere.
All right, so whenever we push the speaker, first of all, you'll want to get the bracket aimed towards the seating area. That red indicator is just an indicator on the bracket where you would like to point the actual tweeter. So let's say we've got it lined up right towards you, the viewer, and then you'll want to get these arrows lined up with the unlocked on the actual bracket. So boom, it'll slide right in there.
See how it's lining up with these slits, and then you just rotate it onto that lip, and that's what holds it in place. So what you're looking for, guys, is just that all of them are underneath that lip, just like that, all the way around. And you won't be able to see it when you go to put it in the ceiling. So I wanted to show this view for you guys of it out of the ceiling. But essentially, we're just gonna line up that red line, that red little speaker emblem here with our target seating area, line it up on the unlocked, and rotate into place. All right, so we got these puppies out of the box. Now, guys, let's get them put in the walls.
Like Zach mentioned before, we are gonna go ahead and start installing the Focal 1000 IW6. This is a monopole surround speaker. You can also utilize this as your front left and right as well. If you can, budget allows, space allows, jump up to the IWLCR. One thing I like to look around is just make sure that there's nothing that's going to really hinder us from, feeling around on the inside. Make sure you have enough clearance for those tabs to grab onto the back of the drywall. I also already installed these and have an install video on our channel if you want to look back. It's going to be pretty straightforward. We already have our speaker wire ran. Grab a utility knife here. I'm going to go ahead and make a fresh new cut to work with. You're gonna make a little slit in the little jacket. I'm gonna take off about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch here on the actual terminal. Give the copper a quick twist. That way it's easy to thread through the actual push terminals on the speaker. And we're gonna actually install these to where the tweeter is gonna be above the woofer in this instance. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the speaker wire here. You're gonna have red and black, obviously red and black here as well. So we're gonna go red first, push down the red on the speaker terminal, slide it through so you see it on the other side. Let go, it's gonna catch. Same thing for the black here. Red through, gone through, it's catched.
These little screws transition, as you screw them in, are going to open up. It's called a dog leg. It's a little toggle that pops out and it's gonna clamp this edge right here and that toggle, the dog leg, between the sheetrock so that it can't move. And there's a nice foam pad that's gonna cut back on vibration, as well as seal the speaker so no drywall dust or any debris comes into the room as that woofer is excurting.
This is a Allen key drill bit that can go into your drill.
If you're gonna use electric though, guys, just be really careful. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen dog legs broke off.
Use the lowest setting if you're using an impact. This is just a like screwdriver, so you can turn it down as well, but this is really low power. It's just really to efficiency.
Don't use like a hammer drill or an impact and just snap those puppies off, because I've gone out to homes and it's sad whenever they get snapped off because you're
essentially have to guide a whole new speaker. This is a 4mm bit here. What I'm gonna do, even though the hole is already cut, all we're looking for is perfect here. You can hear it, the dog leg switch over, and when you hear it catch, you can hear the tone. So we'll just come back through, wipe things off really good, but that is how you install a Focal 1000 series IW6.
All right, nice work, Kellen. This thing looks absolutely beautiful. We're gonna rotate that tweeter down and kind of a little bit inward to cut back on our primary reflection point and position the tweeter towards our target seating area. Like Kellen said, we're gonna come and clean these all off when we're finished. One thing that's really nice with Focal is they think of everything. So like I told you, they have the grills that are magnetic, they just pop right on. But also, because this home isn't completely finished, they have a few more weeks till move-in and they're gonna be touching up and stuff in here. We don't want any paint to get on our speakers, so they have these really nice paint shields that are magnetic. So you can just pop it on like this, and then it protects your speaker from the painter so they can come in and touch everything up, make the room look perfect, and then we'll come back for final calibration and deployment. One knocked out, let's move on to the next.
Full transparency, the customer is going to have the carpet completely up and redone. So we are still trying to minimize mess here, but there is going to be some work still going on. So beryllium is a delicate material. We'll have those on there. Extra protection never hurts while there's still things going on in the construction area. Rinse and repeat from the previous step. We installed the rear left. Same thing here. I'm gonna give this wire a fresh cut to work with here. We're gonna be using the speaker wire that we do sell here at Dreamedia. It's a shielded, in-wall rated speaker wire. So some of the important things about that, you know, safety first and foremost, but also, you know, interference. Maybe you have high current electrical, and if you can look, there is a wire, but certain circumstances, a sconce that is in the hallway behind the theater as you walk up the stairs, even though it's not, I'd say, ideal, it's not really the worst thing that can happen. So again, you want to feel around, see if you're going to have any obstructions right out of the gate. I know that this is going to go in just fine because the customer did install a pre-construction bracket. So for you guys that may feel a little intimidated about cutting holes into your own home, spend the 50 bucks, 35 bucks, depending on whatever bracket model number fits the speaker. Put these brackets in, have your drywall guy, the guy that does it for a living, make the hole for you. Once the bracket is in place, it's more or less a stencil for that drywall guy to come in, or lay the drywall, sheetrock over top of it, come back in, use that bracket as a guide. Now you have the hole that is perfect for the speaker. Just some wire strippers. We're going to take about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch off of each, the red and the black. Give our copper a nice twist so it goes through the push terminals. Again, paying attention to the orientation of how we installed the other one. We have the tweeter on top. I like to do this just to essentially just get a little more height out of the tweeter, because these are going to be at the rear of the room. It is installed. I'm going to have Zach hand me my drill again. We're going to tuck the excess speaker wire in here. I like to leave as much excess speaker wire as you can. The time alignment, the delays that are going through the speaker wire, your AVR will help and get rid of that. For whatever reason, the customer did want to switch speakers out. It still gives the person doing the installation or the customer themselves some flexibility to work with having that extra speaker cable. You'd rather be a foot long than an inch too short. I like to do cross diagonals, so you'll hear it pull. So one cool thing about these, if you do install them upside down, you can change this Focal logo to where it's right side up. You can just get something very carefully and pry out underneath of it. But you'll want to just work on the bottom and top. So again, there's these two little pegs. Even though customer may never see these, it's the little details. Now the logo emblem is right side up. All right, guys, so we're gonna continue on doing the side surrounds with the Focal 1000 IW6, but I do want to touch on one thing, the in-wall bracket for these two speakers. So in the back walls, you can see previously, before the speaker went in, you just had your drywall sheetrock go to the edge, and you didn't really see the bracket itself. We want to really touch on this because we've had a couple of customers that have installed them incorrectly from the get-go. We knew we were going to be covering these with fabric, so we wanted to leave this as an example. This bracket here technically needs to be flipped around and put on. That way you can get tripped up because there is a lip here that does seem to go or be a good spot for the drywall to stop. But you technically want to flip this over. That way the drywall guy can use this inner edge here to route out and leave just a clean, basically hole for your speaker to go into.
Yeah, so essentially guys, if you have this bezel right here facing you,
it was installed incorrectly.
Correct. The job can still be completed. It's just aesthetically, it's not gonna look as good as it could, but we left this intentionally because we wanted to put emphasis on this. We really appreciate everybody's support from around the country buying from us, but we just hate to see when little things, little mistakes are made that could be avoided. So hopefully this helps you guys out with your installation of the pre-construction brackets.
So we're gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna go ahead and make a fresh cut of the speaker wire. Strip some of this jacket back on the wire itself. So just pull this back here.
Make sure to twist all your strands together, guys, so that it can go into the terminal easily. You don't want, ideally, any copper strands loose because they could potentially short out on the other terminal.
All right, so now we're in time to push it through the terminals. I'm gonna start with red first, and then black.
Very nice. These are push button too, very easy. As you can see, what I was stating earlier is you just want to make sure that strands from each aren't touching each other, like that.
We're gonna tuck some of this excess speaker wire in here. Saves a lot of time, a lot of hand cranks and forearm strength. Jump over to the next one here.
All right, guys, next we're going to be moving on to the installation of the IWLCR6s on our front soundstage. Take a drop cloth, just protect the floor, and then we'll be proceeding on to cutting holes. So what I like to do, guys, is just install my tape kind of at the baseboard line and then just attach my plastic to it. That way it really catches everything. You can just kind of fold it in and throw it away when you're done. And then I'll just take the corner and just pull it right up to where it seals all the way down. 1, 2, and now we're sealed up. Alrighty, Dreamedia family, we are moving right along. I wanted to take just a minute to explain what's going on here at the front of the room. We're gonna be doing LCRs, not behind an acoustically transparent screen. In traditional home cinema, we like to use AT screens, acoustically transparent, so the speakers can be hidden behind the screen directly at ear level. But in this circumstance, we're gonna be using a different type of screen material called ALR, ambient light rejecting. The customer wants to come into this room and crank the lights all the way to 100 like they are now and still see his image. We're gonna be installing our speakers to the front left, front right, and center speaker down below the screen. So the speakers are gonna flank our screen rather than be behind the screen. We're actually going to be installing an on-wall enclosure. You can see they already had it painted for us to match the wall. For customers that may not have sheetrock, you can get these on-wall enclosures, this on-wall mount, and use the architectural speakers in any room. More importantly, I think what I really wanted to point out for my average home theater guys out there that have a room just like this, you know, standard sheetrock framing, 2x4, 2x6 walls. In many circumstances, the framing does not line up center to where you can pop that speaker in. This particular speaker is too large to fit in between any 16-inch stud bay or 24-inch stud bay, so we have to use an on-wall enclosure. Even if it can fit, like the Focal 100 series, many times that wall is not framed to where your 2x4s are gonna line up dead center.
Dead center.
And we want that center speaker to be perfectly mounted right at center, as high up as possible, right with our screen. What we've done so far, guys, is we've mapped out where our screen's going to be. We started off by catching center. This is the center of the wall. Me and Kellen just measured that out. And then we marked out the edge of the screen, which is here and here. So the next thing we need to determine is our speaker location for our front left, right, and center speakers. So what we're gonna be using is a stud finder. Check this one out, guys. It's one of my personal favorites, Franklin Sensors. You can pick it up on Amazon. Very basic stud finder, but I've had very good results with this. It doesn't pick up power lines, plumbing, or gas lines though. Luckily in this room, we can see right behind the wall, so it's not as big of a deal. If you look right here, you take that stud finder and you slide it across the wall, we're gonna figure out where our studs are. So we got one stud right here, and then our next stud is way over here. Our speaker needs to go right in between the studs here. Now we need to check the other side to ensure that it can line up and measure the same distance off the screen. That's actually perfect, guys. If you have the opportunity to mount the speaker here or here, I always recommend bringing it closer into the room because it's gonna cut back on those reflections off your sidewall. Now that we know that we have adequate stud positioning for our left and right speakers, the next step is I want to determine how high we're going to mount our screen. In this room, we have a 12-inch riser with a step up at the back of the room and over to the side. And then we're gonna have seating in 2 rows. So it's important to consider your sight lines, guys. When you sit down and the rear row, there's nothing worse than heads blocking your view in the front row. We're gonna take our projections of the rear row as well as our viewing angle into account whenever we go to install and determine our height of the screen. So Kellen, what height are we at?
We're looking at about 65 inches tall.
65 inches.
Overall.
65 inches total height. We got the additional height of the riser itself plus our seating. We're gonna need to be roughly about 2 to 2.5 feet off the ground. This is going to be our height. What we did is we factored in the type of seating that they're using in this space. We're gonna be doing a love sack, really cozy lounge, basically a big bed at the front of the room. So we're gonna try to go as low as possible on this screen so that we can get the screen right there at eye level for the front row, but also we don't want to be too low to where our dialogue coming out of our center speaker is affected. And we're about 30 inches from our baseboard. We're a total of 38 inches from the floor. All right, so we got the whole screen, everything marked out. We have the left of the screen here, bottom of the screen here, top of the screen there, right of the screen over here. And we have the center speaker marked out. We've taken into account our different type of seating and our sight lines for this particular project. And it looks like, just as a reference, guys, we're about 31 inches to our tweeter on this model. So next, we're going to start cutting in our holes. So our left and right speakers, guys, we want the tweeters to match our surrounds as far as height goes. Kellen, what was the measurement on that?
57 inches to the middle of the tweeter from the floor.
Great, so now we're gonna go over here and put a little mark of that 57-inch marker so we can determine where we're gonna put our cutout. 57, about right here. So right here is where we want the center of our tweeter. And go over to this side, do the same thing, 57. All right, Dreamedia family, now that we have the screen marked out and we've determined where our stud locations are, as well as our center speaker placement, we're going to find the center of the screen, so then we can put our cutout template for our front left and right centered with the middle of the screen so that it looks aesthetically pleasing. So Kellen right now is figuring out the center of where we marked out the screen previously, and I'm gonna help him put a little marker up there. So we got 65 inches, 32 and a half right there. And now we're gonna measure from the floor to that mark, and then from the floor to over here. 70 and a half, okay? So now we're gonna come over here, 70 and a half up, 49. We're just gonna measure from the ceiling.
Move this down a quarter inch.
That way we're a little more precise. We're just measuring from the ceiling down. So that measurement is 49 and a quarter. So we're gonna mark out 49 and a quarter on both sides. Now we're gonna take our cutout template, look at the center mark, which they actually have a little X right here. I just kind of marked out the edge of the template so that I can make sure I am dead on the money. Now we're gonna take our template with a level. It's really important that you level your template. Now the question is, how far do we want the template or the speaker to be off the screen? Because of the difference between the studs, left and right, what I'm going to do is install the right one first and butt it up as close to that stud. You gotta leave about an inch. You don't want it right on the stud because those dog legs still need to open, but get it as close as possible to the stud and cut that one in first, and then I'm gonna cut in the left one after I determine how close I can get on the right side. All right, guys, so we have everything templated out now, perfect. And we're now gonna move on to the fun part, cutting the holes. So I'm gonna go ahead and trace out each template, and then we'll move on to cutting. This is one of my favorite little drywall saws. Obviously, we have automatic ones with batteries and all kinds of cool stuff, but I like to show you guys the most typical way. I picked this up for under 10 bucks at Home Depot, and it's just a manual saw, but we're only cutting a couple holes here, so it should be nice and easy. Whew.
Good news.
Wow. Talk about unexpected things in the walls.
A random 10-inch long 2x6.
What in the world? Look at this, guys. Like, this is why you hire the pros, because what? Why? Why did they do that? Who knows? The sheetrock guys just, I guess needed to patch a couple pieces together, but wow. All right, guys, we got a little fire break here. I'm gonna try and knock it out. All right, and that's how you remove a fire break. Moving along. This is always the hardest, the front sound stage. Here's a little pro tip, guys. You see how that sheetrock just tried to like tear on me? When you're cutting really small pieces like that, loosen up your grip and just let it slide really fast, but don't put a lot of pressure into the sheetrock so that it can cut off that outside paper without tearing a big hole in the wall. That's happened to me many times to where hopefully that little pro tip helps you guys. Okay, this side's done. All right, guys, so we actually have to wire the front sound stage here. We're gonna go ahead and just cut a hole straight through the back for our speaker line to shoot out. All right, now we're gonna feed our speaker wires through each. So I'm gonna be using 14-2 shielded oxygen-free speaker wire. All right, so I got our right speaker ran. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. I love to leave extra length, guys. There's nothing worse than being a couple inches too short when you're trying to knock out a project. I'm gonna come over here to this side now. Same thing, 14-2 shielded wire. It's gonna pop right on over. Kellen, you wanna grab that one for me? Yeah. And then just pull it to the exact same length of the right speaker. Once Kellen pulls that out to length, so we can feed it into our rack, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the wire. All right, Kellen says we're good. I'm gonna leave a little extra length here, cut our wire, and now we get to the fun part. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut my shielding back like that. Strip back our red and black wires, about a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch. This is kind of the finished look that you're going for. Kellen's doing the same thing over here, as you can see. Same process over here. Twist the strands together and onto the fun part. We get to install the speakers. Whoa, that's a beast. Oh yeah, looking good. Yep, not perfect.
Easy on this one.
So guys, this is a prime example whenever we're talking about sheetrock that kind of bends. As you can see right there where that stud is, the sheetrock actually warps. And that's really important to notate, bends and warps like that when you're doing the screen. Nice work, Kellen. Woo! All right, Dreamedia family, moving right along. We got our front right speaker in. Now we're gonna be moving on to our front left. Oh yeah, can't forget. Look at this attention to detail. That's what I'm talking about, guys. It's that special Kellen treatment right here.
Customer's gonna get touch-up on paint. Carpet is actually being completely ripped out and redone. So we still want to be careful, and be mindful.
This here that Kellen's installing is a paint shield, and it's magnetic. I freaking love that Focal does this because it allows our painters to come in behind and easily do touch-ups without having to worry about our speakers getting any paint on them. As you guys can see, now we have our front right in at the surround rear, left, right, and surround left over here are all put in. So we're moving right along. On to the next one. All right, left speaker, same deal. Red to red, black to black. Make sure none of the wires get crossed or are touching each other. Make sure the shielding's all the way up in there, guys. I would like to warn you guys, Kellen is an experienced installer, but any of you guys who are doing this for the first time, you gotta be really careful whenever you're screwing these dog legs in. See how he's super careful whenever it gets to the end, not to put too much pressure. But this type of drill that he's using, you could potentially snap off the dog legs, which is gonna result in a nightmare. It could damage the sheetrock or break the leg off, but either way, just be really careful, guys, as you're screwing these in.
I like to jump around, kind of back and forth to kind of evenly disperse, because like right up here I can get snug to the sheetrock, but down here, you know, it's a little, don't want to push it too much.
Now we're just gonna go ahead and clean the speaker off, and then we're gonna put on our paint grill over here. Beautiful. We're gonna continue to move forward with the installation process now. As you can see, up in the ceiling, we have our pre-construction brackets already installed, as well as the sheetrock guys, drywall guys who've come and cut it for us. So we're gonna proceed with taking our wire, our shielded, UL listed, in-wall rated speaker wire that we do sell it here at Dreamedia for pre-wiring. We're gonna splice it back. That is 14.2, by the way. I don't know if we covered that in this room. And for most home theaters, we're using 14 gauge, 12 gauge, or for entry level theaters or shorter run, smaller systems, we'll use 16.2 wire as well. We're gonna go grab a ladder and pop these in ceilings in. Let's go. I would like to point out that these pre-construction brackets that are pre-installed here make life so much easier. I mean, order these when you're consulting with our specialist, because you can have these bolted in during the framing stage, and then the sheetrock guys just cut all the holes for you and makes it to where you just come and pop them right in. If you're DIYing, that can just be a lifesaver. So even my pros out there, you guys know what I'm talking about. So we're gonna strip this back about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of shielding. Now we're going up. Like that. The same process that I just showed you over there on the ground, we're just repeating it here in the ceiling now. And we're gonna go red to red, black to black, push button terminals. Now we're just gonna take our speaker, go up into the ceiling, line up our unlocked arrows. So like this. And we're gonna rotate it right into place, like that. Perfect. So now we got our red arrow with some sound waves. We got the tweeter woofer, everything pointed right towards our target seating area. The last thing is just putting on our dust cover. So these dust cover here, guys, are a lifesaver whenever you're doing a theater. There's multiple phases to the process, and one is touch-up paint. Whenever we're doing touch-ups, we appreciate the painters making everything perfect, but we definitely do not want paint on our brand new speakers. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos so far. If you like it, drop some comments down below and let me know what you guys are loving about the process. If you have any questions, anything else that you'd like to see in upcoming videos. We're gonna start doing these in-depth install videos on a quarterly basis. Obviously, as Dreamedia has grown, we can't film every single project, but I do wanna give back to the community by showing some of these little minute details. We're gonna strip back our wire again, twist our pairs together, and pop in our next bracket. Again, being aware of our red arrow there. Let's talk about those in-ceiling speakers. Little thing that we ran into that was kind of unique. Obviously, we went through showing you exactly how the mechanism works, but in certain circumstances, like on this speaker, we actually had to pop out the little circle that holds the pre-wire, the actual physical wire, because of the way the sheetrock wasn't sitting perfectly level. It was actually making the bracket push the speaker down to where there'd be a little tiny gap between the sheetrock and the bracket. So we popped those out. If you guys are experiencing that as well, like the speaker just won't go flush, you may have to pop that little tab out as well. It's plastic, it pops out super easy, but I was getting kind of frustrated up there on that speaker during the installation process. And as soon as I popped that little clip out, it went nice and tight. The reason it's important is because as that woofer is extruding and as we're creating energy in the room, the woofers are pounding. It's gonna pressurize the space, and drywall dust inside of your walls will actually start coming into the room because the room is breathing. It's really important to get that seal nice and tight with that nice foam grommet that's around the edge, sealing the attic from the interior space.
Looks good.
Wow, that was a tricky one.
Woo, woo, woo.
You okay?
Yeah.
We just installed the IW6 1000 series as well as the IWLCR6 for our front soundstage. This cool little product that Focal has for their 1000 series. It's an on-wall mount in case you can't put the speaker in the wall, but you want it to match the rest of your surround system. This is gonna be really common if your studs aren't lining up center with the screen, kind of like in this situation. We can just bolt the box to it. This has been color matched to the wall, so it'll blend in pretty well. If you look closely, it actually has a nice little bezel to it, kind of a nice design aspect. Yeah, what's really cool about this box is not only can we use it on sheetrock, but a lot of you guys have basements, or maybe you live in a place where you have concrete walls, brick walls, any area in your home where you don't even want to go into the wall, you may want to consider utilizing this product here. Or say there's like, I've used it a lot on projects where there's like just a wall of glass and there's a little spot in between the window and the door where we could put the speaker, but the studs aren't cooperating. There's really no space inside the wall. It's almost all wood, but there's enough space to fit the speaker. Perfect problem solver. So guys, what we're doing now is we're gonna line up dead center, make sure that our bracket is mounted in the appropriate location. And then we're going to take our speaker and make sure that it's dead center on the wall, but also level. This is the template for an in-wall speaker. If we were able, like if we had the wall custom framed, we could then put the center speaker in the horizontal orientation, no problem, but we got several studs here. This is where we want the center, but we're gonna use our on-wall bracket here. Right now, we got everything marked out so we can install our sheetrock anchors. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to hit studs, but we're gonna use 4 75-pound drywall anchors. So this thing is gonna be rock solid. Okay, so what I like to do, guys, is just drill a little pilot hole. That way our anchors go in really easy. That was not a drill bit. That's a Phillips head screwdriver, but it gets the job done. So now you can see I got everything ready to go. Now I'm just gonna install my 75-pound sheetrock anchors. They're gonna go in and spread, really securing that mount to the wall.
Been in Nashville too long.
I have been. Look at you, Kellen.
They're right here.
No messes allowed. So now watch how easy these go in. now that I've got some pilots here. There we go. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and install the bracket.
That would probably hold it, but we've got 6 more.
Yeah, so here at Dreamedia, we like to go overkill, guys. Like, we don't want anything coming off the walls. So obviously, like, that would be more than enough, 150 pounds. But I'm gonna put them all in just to make sure this puppy doesn't go anywhere. You can hang from that puppy. It's not going anywhere now. As you can see, those things are bolted in solid now on both sides. As you guys can see over here at the rear, there is a bunch of free wiring for the home back here. Here's our speaker line for our center speaker. This is a strong FS series rack we're gonna be using. Guys, I've used this a ton. This is for sale on the Dreamedia website. Comes fully assembled, ventilation, shelves, really nice wheels and casters built in. Basically everything that you need. As you can see, Kelton's in here right now, stripping back the wires, getting ready to connect our center speaker.
If you're gonna be doing a whole theater with Focal speakers from us, I would really, recommend. We don't sell everything in the kitchen sink here at Dreamedia, but these will make life a lot easier when you're doing, 7, 11, 16, whatever it is of these speakers. These little hex bits that will go in a drill will just make everything more efficient. So these are a different size than what you're going to be using to kick out the dog legs. You still want to be really, really gentle with these. Okay, and it only spins one way. So right now that's the orientation, so we're going to spin it. Okay.
All right, guys, all we're doing now is just connecting black to black, red to red. All right, guys, something that we just learned as we were installing the speaker into the enclosure is there's 2 separate sides to the enclosure, and it's important that you notate that when switching your tweeter directionality, because it actually has a cutout specifically for the speaker wire and the terminals and everything to come into, whereas the other side does not. So now, unfortunately, we just have to flip our tweeter again. All right, Dreamedia family, that is a wrap. If you guys would like to purchase anything home theater related, whole house audio, 2-channel hi-fi, really any electronics for your home or business, reach out today. Dreamedia is nationwide and would love the opportunity to earn your business. Obviously, our specialty is home theaters and high-end home cinema builds. We're gonna be doing a full-blown installation video on this home theater right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So be sure to stay tuned to the channel so you can see the full installation video. I know a lot of you guys out there have requested more of these installation videos, so I'm out here getting the guns out and putting on a show for you guys. I hope you're enjoying all this information and getting little tips and tricks, things like that construction bracket not being installed properly, how to get the pre-construction brackets in place before so the sheetrock guys can do the heavy lifting for you, in addition to things like the paint guards, which are really invaluable whenever you're setting up a home theater, going through different stages of the build, in addition to how to paint the grills. So we really covered everything from introducing the product, taking it out of the box, all the way through to the installation. And in upcoming videos, we'll show a complete finished room. All right, guys, well, that's all I got for you. If you like this video, give me a big thumbs up and be sure to smash that subscribe button down below for more. Till next time, this is Zach with Dreamedia Home Theater. Thank you for watching.